أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي، بمحمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, cheerfulness removes the grudge of others. Cheerfulness removes the grudge of others. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله حسن البشر يذهب بالسخيمة. حسن البشر يذهب بالسخيمة. What does it mean? That means the nice face will remove the hard-hearted or the bad things from the others. If you have nice face with others, just smile with the others, this will make the others not hate, at least not hating you or not thinking badly about you. Prophethood being part of divine grace. We explained this in Arabic last week, and this, inshallah, this lecture will explain it in English. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after He has created us, He never let us live in this life, in this dunya, in this universe, just like that, without giving a guide to us. First of all, He distinguished us among the other creatures by giving us what? Intellect. This is number one. Is that enough? No, it is enough. It is not enough. Also, He sent us guiders, prophets. For what? Because nowadays we can see that some of the people whom they have a very high degree, like PhD degree, and he is still worshipping what? He is still worshipping the cow. Still worshipping the cow and taking the urine of the cow and wash himself with that urine as what? As blessings. For this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is not stop of sending His rahmah, of sending His charity to us through what? Through sending us prophets. Those prophets, they are human beings just like us. They are human beings, not angels. Because if they are angels, we're going to ask Allah not to punish us on the sins that we commit, on the sins that we commit. Why? Because we say those angels, they do not have what? They do not have whims, they do not have needs like us, so they are immaculate. While Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He chose the prophets, and those prophets among us, mankind, from the mankind, it is an evidence to us that you are the rest of mankind. You can follow them, and they can guide you to the good in this life and hereafter. Somebody said, why Allah do this for us? Simply because He loves us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves His creatures, and the most important of His creatures are what? Are the mankind, even more important than the angels. More important than the angels. The angels, you see, their work, their job, their life is just to worship Allah. Nothing else. Nothing else. Just to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, while we are mankind, we commit sin, we are sinful. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prefer us rather than the angels? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, and He challenged the angels that those mankind are better than you. I mean the good ones. The good ones, not the sinners or the sinful ones. For many reasons, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala find that even a mankind with his intellect, with his education, with his experience, he cannot guide himself to the good of this life and hereafter. Definitely will commit a mistake, in this life, and as a result he will be in a hell fire. Why? Because a person needs a model. Each one of us need a model in front of him, takes his hand, guides him to the right path, and not to waste this life. Because these moments, these days, these years that we are living in this life are ended. They will end. In a moment or other, we will die, and we will move to another life. That is Alam al-Barzakh. We have to act in this life because in a good way. This life, it's a life for acting, for deeds. It is not the life of judgment. The judgment will be at the Akhirah, at Doomsday, Judgment Day. That day will be for what? That day will be for judging the sinful and punish them, and rewarding the good people. Sending prophets among the mankind, it is a kind of mercy. It's a kind of grace from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to people. Number one. Number two, it is a proof from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the other people that I send you a guide, and this guide, he is a person just like you, and he lives at the same environment that you have been in. So why you didn't take the advice from? Why you didn't take the advice from him? Why you didn't act just like him? And why did you not accept his advices? So it is what? It is also, we call it in Arabic, hujjah. This is a proof or evidence from Allah against us. Because I know some people will say, why Allah did not send us prophets? This is a question. And another question, maybe you will ask, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't sent prophets for some mushrikeens, or maybe the people in Africa, in the jungles, in the forests of Africa, whom they did not contact with civilizations, and they do not have power, they do not have internet and anything to contact and to learn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never leave a hujjah against him. Allah sent to each person a prophet, a messenger, and this messenger for them is intellect. They have to think who has created them, and they have to ask. If a person inquire and ask, definitely he will reach to a point that there is what? That there is a God create all these things, a God behind all this universe, a God behind all this system. But the problem is with the people themselves. Sheikh Muhammad Rida Al-Muzaffar, late Muhammad Rida Al-Muzaffar, said, man is an eccentric creature. Yeah, really. We are in the same family, brothers or sisters. Maybe we are twins. Twins, as I told you last lecture, twins from the same mother, same father. Both of them, they were Jewish, then they became Muslims. One of them, she becomes Shi'i, the other one becomes Sunni, and the Shi'i one, she become a very good mu'min, and the other one, she follows the Sunnis system or Islamic codes, and she does not wear hijab. They are twins. They are twins, but in their thoughts, in their thinking of mind is completely different. Is an eccentric creature and a complex structure in his form, nature, psychology, and intelligence. Moreover, each individual human personality has its own complex nature in which inclinations to evil are extant and incentives to goodness and righteousness are also existent. On the one hand, man has been fashioned on the emotions and instincts such as egoism, fancy, selfishness, and submission to personal whims. He also possesses an inclination towards supremacy, dominance, prevalence over others, and a desire for the pleasures, fantasies, and chatless of the world. Describing man, Almighty Allah has said in the Holy Quran, "Innal insana lafi khusr." Lo, man is surely the loser. Why? Because in each one of us we find that the selfishness, the self, and the whims and the mind, all of them in a battlefield, and they quarrel between each other, which is going to lead this person. And definitely each one, it has different goals, different aims than the others. The whims has its own goals, the needs has its own goals, and the self, it has its own goals. The mind, it has also its own goals. كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى إن رآه استغنى. Nay, man is most surely inordinate because he sees himself free from want. إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء. Surely the soul of man incites to evil. The Holy Quran contains many other verses clearly indicating the emotions and whims on which human beings have been fashioned. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created mankind, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the diagram of the mankind because He is the creator. For that, this instrument, this iPad, when the engineer or the inventor invented it, definitely he sent what? He sent with it a document. A document, it shows the user how to use it and what is the right way to use it to give it energy, and what is the wrong way, how to keep it working for a long time, and what are the suitable programs which can be uploaded to this tab. This is the directions of the engineer or the inventor. The same thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala مع فارق التشبيه. The same thing with a difference in comparison. The same thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He has created mankind, He sent a document with Him to how to use this mankind by Himself, I mean, not by others. For that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these documents not to anybody, but to a reliable person, a very trusty person, that he is what? He is the messenger or the prophet. On the other hand, Almighty Allah has created in man a guiding intellect which leads him to prosperity and lucy of goodness and determinate conscience that prevents him from committing evil and wrong, and blames him from doing any hideous and censured acts. Internal conflict between mind and soul, between desires and intellect, is always there inside human souls. Hence, he is whose intellect overcomes his desires will find himself a high-ranking place among the ones advanced in humanity and perfect in spirituality. However, those who definitely a person who is high in his rank of knowledge, I mean the religious knowledge, the divine knowledge, not the academic knowledge. We can see people, so many people whom they have academic knowledge, a higher degree of academic knowledge, but they have what? They have bad beliefs, wrong beliefs, and even they are not, some of them, they do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of them. So I'm not talking about this knowledge. I'm talking about the divine knowledge, the Sharia knowledge. Each person who is having such knowledge definitely When I'm saying each person who is having such knowledge, I mean the real one, the real scholar, not the fake scholar. Nowadays, mashallah, with all sorry to say, that we find some scholars whom they are fake. They do not have such knowledge. However, those who are overcome by their whimsical desires will be, look, the real scholar, he comes over what? Over his whimsical. He punishes himself if he does some mistake. One of the ulama, one of the scholars, once he, I think he lied once. Then he punished himself to fast for a month. He punished himself to fast for a month because he lied once. Then he promised himself, if he lies again, that he will fast for 1 year. After a while, he lies. He lies for some reason. What he does, he fasts for a year. He fasts for a year as a punishment for himself. Look, then how he controls himself, how he is controlling his whims. You see, these scholars whom I'm talking about, I'm not talking about whom pretending to be scholars and they took for taking the money of khums and zakah for themselves and to build houses, to have new cars, and I'm not talking about the fake ones. Those who are overcome by their whimsical desires will be with the losers and degenerate to the rank of beasts. Unfortunately, the stronger of these two contending powers is desire. This is why we find most people plunging into deviation and detaching themselves from true guidance by acceding to their desires and responding to the calls of their passions. Yes, it is true. Nowadays, we find that people, they commit mistakes and wrongdoing. What they did, they tried to satisfy themselves that they did for the good of the people. They did it for the good of religion, the good of yes, not for himself, but in reality, if he becomes alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will admit that he does so because of his whims, because of his what? Because of his needs, not for the sake of the people. Yes, referring to this fact, the Holy Quran reads, وَمَا أَكْثَرَ النَّاسَ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. What does it mean to be a mu'min? To be a mu'min is to be cautious, to act according to precaution, wara', to be pious, not to be like the others. Just in Arabic we said, عيشني اليوم موتني باكر, give me a life today and tomorrow it will be ease. No, after death will be ease. How it comes after death? Or every simple or every single sin that you have done in this life, you will be what? You will be punished on it next in the hereafter. And the punishment will continue for millions of years. Na'udhu billah min jahannam bi Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And though you try much, most men will not believe, in consequence of his imperfection and ignorance. My imperfection, my ignorance of all the facts and secrets of the things that surrounded him and stem from his own self. All these things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about this. Man is not competent to recognize all that which harms or benefits him or brings him happiness or misery, respecting his own self and his species, society, and surrounding. Really, a person, he cannot, even with a high degree of knowledge or academic knowledge, he cannot discover or knows what is good for him and what is bad for him. Even if he is what? A prof, PhD, he got a PhD, but he does not know what is good or what is bad for him. So this knowledge is not enough for him. Furthermore, man is always ignorant of himself, and the more man advances in knowledge of natural things and materials being, the more he realizes his self-ignorance. He'll become more ignorant. In order to attain the highest ranks of happiness, man is consequently in the most urgent need for individuals between two practice messengers, prophets, who can show him the straight path and the clearest course that drives him to orthodoxy and true guidance. By means of such, the defense of the intellect will be strengthened, and man will be able to overcome his vehement enemy when he readies himself to storm through the battlefield that decides between acting upon the intellect or following the desires. My intellect is guiding me to where? Guiding me to the right path, to the good path, to the prosperity in this life and hereafter. My whims guided me to where? Guide me to fulfill or to achieve all the desires, whether they are halal or haram, whether they are prohibited or they are allowed. It doesn't matter. عيشني اليوم موتني باكر. I don't care. This is what my whims guided me to. Such need of someone to guide a man to the path of prosperity and uprightness becomes imperative when man's whims make what he does seem fair to him and make his deviant acts seem alluring to him. These whims show him evil as good and good as evil. You see, the bad people, the thieves nowadays, the politicians, they steal the money and so on. What is their evidence? What is their proof for themselves? If we leave it, the Sunnis people they will take it, the Ba'ath people they will take it. يقول إذا احنا ما ناخذها السنة راح ياخذوها البعثية. خب إذا أنت حرامي جيب لي واحد شريف خليكم. If you are a thief, bring me a good person, an honest person to guide it. Look, he justifies for himself the bad acts. He show him evil as good and good as evil, and confuse the path of prosperity. Uprightness and bliss, especially when man lacks knowledge through which he can discriminate between what is good and beneficial. Look, most of them, they have what? They have higher degrees like doctors and master degrees, number one. And some of them, they were scholars. Some of them, they were scholars, they were turban, But when it comes to this ni'mah, to this position, I cannot say it is ni'mah. It is niqmah. It is niqmah. But the clever person who can distinguish between ni'mah and niqmah. It is only two dots. It is only two dots. But the meaning will completely be opposite. Yes. Each one of us is the victim of such conflict, consciously or unconsciously, except these whom Almighty Allah protect against it. So nobody can escape from this quiz or from this exam, only the good person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is accepting from him. It is difficult even for an enlightened, civilized man to attain the path of prosperity and uprightness through personal competence and discriminate between what benefits him and what harms him in this world as well as the next, concerning his own self and his species, society, and surroundings, no matter how much he collaborates with his associate and reveals his ideas before them, or how many affirmances, counsels, and assemblies he holds, he still needs spiritual guidance. Look, spiritual guidance. It has been thus necessary for Almighty Allah, out of His kindness and mercy to human beings, to send a messenger from among them who recites to them His communication and purifies them and teaches them the book and the wisdom. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. He warns them against whatever causes them corruption, and so on. So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us, why He decided to make a prophethood, and this prophethood becomes what? It becomes a part of grace because of the charity of Allah, because of the mercy of Allah. He created this work or this job, and He has chosen purified people for this job. That's all for today. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم.